What's up, guys? O.B here, and I just got done watching the new Hair on the Jungle movie, the official trailer, and it looks off the mother cracking chain. Oh my god, I just saw it right now, and it looks pretty amazing. I cannot wait until Thanksgiving weekend. Okay, I'm gonna be front and center on the TV screen watching that shit. It made me thinking, this year alone we got a lot of good reboots. Some were good, some were bad. And I just hope and pray that we get to see more reboots from our childhood coming back to, the big screen to share with a new generation. But it got me wondering as well, what makes a good reboot a good reboot? Well, I guess what makes a good reboot is it has to be, it has to be a popular series from back in the day. It don't matter if it's the 90s, 80s, 70s, or 60s. It has to be a well-known, popular show that ran from this time to that time that's coming out again. Because you can't reboot something that didn't last. You can't reboot something that didn't last that very long. Like, for example, remember All Real Monsters? Now, even though that was a good show, I really don't think they're gonna reboot that show because it didn't last that long. Even though it was a good show. I mean, me personally, I never really watched that show. But I think if they would reboot it again on Nickelodeon, I don't think kids, well, I don't want to say kids, but I don't think, yeah, kids. There we go. I don't think kids would really enjoy it as much. I don't know why. Maybe because it wasn't a show that was so popular. Like, you wouldn't say Rugrats or Hey Arnold or even SpongeBob. Or even Rocko's Modern Life. So I'm assuming that that show wouldn't even last, I guess. Because you gotta make shows that was popular back in the day, and we be popular back in today's world. So, secondly, it has to do good. It has to do good from old generation's perspective and new generation's perspective, You gotta add in the new and the old, but keep the same feeling as it was back then. For example, you saw DuckTales, right? Oh my god, I've watched DuckTales and it's pretty good. I kind of like it. This DuckTales better than the original one. Don't get me wrong. I think DuckTales, the original, was good. But I think this one was better. Maybe because, personally, I thought I couldn't really, get the nephews, Huey, Dewey, and Louie. Sometimes, I couldn't really tell them apart. They didn't really have, any, personality whatsoever. And even Webby herself. But this one, I like it. It got adventure and it got so much great things with it. They're really planning on doing a second season, so that's good to hear. So yeah, it got a balance, between the new generation and the old generation. Because if you just show a reboot itself, a whole reboot, just like we're gonna do everything all over again, it's not gonna sell. It's not gonna sell for the new generation. Okay, maybe the old, but not the new. You gotta make it both ways, you know what I'm saying? You gotta make it both ways. Me personally, that's what I think. Thirdly, you gotta have the theme song. You gotta have the original theme song. Now, I'm not saying, the original per se, but you gotta at least have the theme song as it once was. You just can't add a new completely theme song and think that it's gonna sell like that. Nope. You gotta add in the new theme song, Now, spin-offs and reboots are different. Now, a spin-off, yeah, you can do whatever you want with it. You can make a whole completely different theme song to your spin-off, because spin-offs are based on the original series of a show, But a reboot, you gotta put in the original. You gotta put in the original lyrics. You gotta put in the original music, the melody, the pitch. I mean, you can make the pitch higher or lower, but, it has to be the original, That's what attracts the new generation and even the old generation to come back to that show. Also, it has to look the same. Now, I don't mind if it's differently, okay? I don't mind if it's differently, okay? Because I know animation has changed if it's a cartoon, and, it won't be exactly the same. Just like, for example, the Hey Arnold one, the Hey Arnold Jungle movie that's about to come out next month. It doesn't look exactly the same. Everything is more digitally, everything is more HD now, and that's perfectly fine. And as with the Hey Arnold Jungle movie, Their clothes are a little bit differently. The hairstyle's kind of differently, a slight differently, a little bit, not too much, but slight difference. But still, it still gives you that same look. It still has that same style that they're trying to persuade as. So I don't mind different animation style. It just got to look, the same a little bit. I don't care if you gotta modernize the clothes and everything, but it got to look the same. Because you don't want to watch a show that looks completely different than what it used to be. So slightly the same. But the most importantly, you got to have that nostalgic feel. I think that's what people are missing sometimes when it comes to rebooting a show, especially a classic show. You got to have nostalgic. I think that's the main secret ingredient in making a reboot. That's the main ingredient to make a good reboot. You got to add that nostalgic. No matter if it's a saying, if it's a catchphrase, if it's a situation, a handshake, or whatever it is, you got to add in that, that nostalgic. And that's what would sell. That's what make a good reboot. So older generation can, share this with a new generation of kids. You know what I'm saying? You got to add you got to add in that nostalgia. And I think that's what some shows are doing wrong. Like Teen Titans Go, or what else? The Powerpuff Girls. They got it, but it's like, I think they're adding way too much of today's shit. That's what everyone's not liking. Some people love it, but me personally, I don't even see it. And what's worse about the Powerpuff Girls reboot, because I watched I think 1 or 2 episodes of it one time. It's like they don't really add in the nostalgic feel of it. It feels like sometimes they're not even fighting crime. They're just dealing with daily basis stuff. The Powerpuff Girls feel like real girls, and I know that's what you're trying to sell, but it's like it doesn't give me that warm nostalgic feeling. And they got rid of the narrator, the city of Townsville. They got rid of that. I'm like, why? They're not fighting crime as much as the original Powerpuff Girls, which kind of saddens me a little bit. Another good example is, remember that Muppet show that came out back in 2015? And personally, I do love the Muppets, but when I saw that, it wasn't really nostalgic feel to it. They made the Muppets more realer than they were supposed to be. Weren't they? I remember they were working at some sort of TV studio, kind of like one-on-one interviews. Kind of like the Office type, what they were doing. And the reason why that didn't work was because it didn't feel like the Muppets. It didn't feel like the original Muppet show that they used to do. It just felt like if the Muppets met the Office some way. That's what it was kind of like, and that's what everybody didn't like. And that's why that show was canceled after a season. So you could tell they didn't last that long. It didn't last that long. Also, the Looney Tunes show. Now, me personally, I love the Looney Tunes show. I kind of hoped and wished they had a 3rd season. But with the Looney Tunes show, the same thing. It lacked zaniness. It lacked craziness. It lacked what the Looney Tunes were supposed to be. It was pretty much like if the Looney Tunes met Seinfeld. Because, it was literally Bugs and Daffy living together in the same roof. And, going through situations day by day and all that stuff. And, it felt like, and the characters kind of lost their character traits and all that stuff because they felt like they were more of a straight man than a loony man, So it was like, that show only lasted, it lasted 2 seasons, so it was a pretty okay show, but still, I think we all just missed that zaniness that they carried on, throughout the years, so. It got to have nostalgia.